Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a super exciting video because I am going to be swatching out my entire collection of Pastel Roses UK Pigments. Now these pigments are very special because they're so highly reflective. So if you see on my eyes, like, look at how beautiful that is. Seriously, I can't. And the other special thing about them is that they are duo or multi-chromatic. So you get a huge range and diversity of color as you sort of change position relative to where you've placed the product. The other thing that I was so excited to share with you is that my gorgeous aunt has made shirts for me. So I have shirts with my own name on them and I'm so excited. I will leave information about her shop down below. She does do a lot of different styles and things like that, and she has a charitable component to her products as well, where she's donating to LGBTQ plus and Black Lives Matter related charities like NAACP, things like that. If that is something you're interested in, definitely go check out her shop below. So there are three main categories of the pigments that I'm going to be focusing on today. And the pigments I'm focusing on today are more of the like flaky type pigments that they have. They do also have like some really finely milled powder type pigments, but I'm not going to be focusing on those in this video. So the three main categories are the chameleon, the neon chameleon, and the opalescent. So the opalescent is sort of an iridescent base, and then they shift from there. So all of the bases, when caught at, the opposite angle to which the light is coming through, are going to have this clear to gray blue type base, and then the colors are going to be reflective as the light hits them. The neon chameleons are very brightly colored, and for those I don't necessarily see as much shift in the pigment as it changes in position. And then you have the regular chameleons, which have the most intense pigment and shift. The base for those is more of like browns and reds kind of a base, which you don't see unless you're looking at that exact opposite angle. And you'll see in the swatches, because I do have some live swatches, you'll be able to see when the camera is completely opposite the pigment, you can see the base come through. Those have the strongest colors, they have the strongest shifts. So this is one of the chameleon pigments. This is Yellowstone, and you can just see it has such an intensity that I have not been able to replicate anywhere else. So yeah, the packages come in like a little plastic jar with a screw-on cap, and then, the little jars have sort of this salt and pepper shaker type opening to them, and what I prefer to do is take that lid off, take what I need out, and then replace the lid. If you use the salt and pepper shaker type component to it, I think you run the risk of shaking out too much and not being able to put it back and having to waste the product. Now that being said, they are about a gram of product, and you would think that that's not a lot of product, and you're right, it's not, but a little bit goes an absolutely long way. I have done many a look with these pigments, and I'm not close to running out on any of them. I could still do tons more looks with each of the pigments that I have. The pricing for these pigments is around $7 each, but they do have some bundles available. Some of the bundles, I believe, are ones where you know the shades ahead of time, and some are like mystery bundles. I did my first order with them with a mystery bundle, so I had no idea what kind of shades I was going to get, and I was really happy with the shades that I got. So I think the owner does a good job of trying to put together shades that would be interesting and popular, and not just, here's some leftover stock that I had that I don't want, so I'll put it in this mystery bundle, if that makes sense. Okay, so in terms of how to use, I am going to try to insert a clip of me trying to put this on this morning. Um, the setup that I'm using for filming is a little new to me for that, so you can see I struggle a little bit to like know where I'm looking and things like that, so I do apologize, but you can see just how easy these are to apply. I like to use a glitter glue and a silicone applicator. They do have a bundle of those two things on their website as well, but you can get them from other places like NYX, Hard Candy, wherever. You don't need to pay an expensive price for a glitter glue. The removal process, they remove really easy. You don't have any trouble with eye irritation like you would with a pressed glitter or one of the larger, like chunkier glitters around the eye area, so that's been good as well. The next thing I'm going to do is go through and describe all of the shades that you could get so that you can see the colors that are available. I will be showing you clips of the actual pigment in the jar, as well as a picture swatch and then a short video clip of a swatch. These video clips are done in low lighting, and the reason for that is because it's easier to capture the shifts, especially in the chameleon pigments, in low lighting. The iridescent pigments are very difficult to capture no matter what type of lighting you use. So you'll have to trust me that they do look really beautiful in person. And I'm sure if you decided to play with one of these, you would find the same result yourself. The first one is Andromeda. Andromeda is one of the opalescent multichrome pigments. In direct light, it comes off as more of like a minty blue kind of shade, and in indirect lighting you can see more of a shift towards magenta. Again, you'll see that it has kind of that clear gray blue type base as well, while you look at it indirectly. Next one is Lynx. Lynx is more of a light blue type shade, again one of the opalescent pigments. In direct light it has more of a hot pink with peach and scant yellow golden shifts, and then in indirect light you see more of that sort of aqua minty blue base. This one's very pretty. The next one is Capricorn, and if you haven't started seeing a trend with the opalescent shades, they definitely all have sort of this robin's egg blue kind of appearance in the jar. In direct light, this one is definitely a strong lime shade with some peach and gold reflex. In indirect light, you can see more of that iridescent barely blue type color. This one is so beautiful on the eyes as well. The next one is Milky Way. Milky Way definitely has more of a cream or like just a almost mustardy kind of shade to it in the jar. In direct light it has more of a teal blue with lime and some mint colored reflex to it. And then in indirect light I think it has more shifts of lilac and magenta. So it's really pretty, definitely leans more cool tone on the eye. Next one is Aries, and Aries definitely has that same kind of bluey, purple, magenta-y type look in the jar. When you're looking at it in a swatch though, in direct light you're going to see lime with some mint and a strong gold presence. In indirect light there are some more rose and sort of a magenta purple type tones to it. Again, this one looks really pretty on the eyes. You're going to hear me say that a lot because they all look really pretty on the eyes. The next one is Mars. Now this is getting into some of the neon pigments. Mars is definitely a very strong like candy apple red type color. In direct light it has rose, and it does lean a little bit of peach and golden with the amount of reflectiveness that you see in the swatch. In indirect light you can see some more tones of burgundy and then that iridescent kind of blue-gray base. But it's very pretty on the eyes. It does not have as much multi-chrome factor though. This is Peachy. Peachy is a sort of peach based neon pigment. It leans more lime and gold with some flecks of pink in direct light, and in indirect light it is definitely more peachy with a pink and sort of rosewood type shift. You can definitely see how strong the shift is in this one because it goes from gold to green. This is Purple Heart, again one of the neon pigments, and it has a strong lilac periwinkle type base. In direct light I see lilac, some bubblegum pink, and just a few flecks of like a lime mint type shade. In indirect light I see more of that lime and some iridescent blue-gray. This is Aquamarine. It's a very pretty kind of a candy blue color. In direct light I see the blue of course with some magenta, purple, and aqua kind of tones. And then in indirect light I feel like it shifts a little bit more teal and has some hints of chartreuse in there as well. Again, very pretty, and it looks pretty cool toned, so you could pair it with a lot of different beautiful eyeshadows. This is Veracite. This is also one of the neon pigments, and in direct light it definitely has a very strong mint with a hint of blue type appearance, but mint is the predominant color that you'll see under direct light. In indirect light you do see some more reflex of pink as well as blue. I think this one is very pretty as well. It has such a strong reflex that it is almost blinding on the lids, and I couldn't be happier with it. The next one is Metal Heart. Metal Heart has like a lilac base, but then it has a really strong golden sheen to it. So in the jar it almost looks brown, but it is not the case. In direct light you will see gold, lime, and some flecks of peach, as you can see here. When you go to indirect light you definitely see more of that like warm purple aubergine type shade, and so the duochromatic factor on this particular shade is really prominent. So if you're looking for one of those wow pigments, this would be one to look at. The next one is Citrine. Citrine will knock your socks off. It is a definite bright yellow gold, canary yellow type shade. It has a ton of reflect. In direct light it is definitely a goldenrod shade, and it has flecks of peach and lime, which you can see in the swatches. In indirect light it does show a little bit of that sort of minty tone as well as that gray blue type base. This one is a stunner, so if you're really interested in one that has a lot of pigment, go for that. The next one is Sweet Pear. The look of this one is definitely more of a warm toned minty green, or like a lime color. In direct light it is peach and gold with some flecks of lime. In indirect light you see more of that minty type shade and then the iridescent blue-gray base, and you can see that really well as the swatch is shifted back and forth. Okay, So now we're getting into some of the chameleon pigments. This is Pegasus. Pegasus is definitely a strong blue with a bit of a magenta shift in the pan. In direct light, you see that bright blue and again some magenta accents. As you go to the indirect light, you do start to see some of that sort of brownier base, which you can see kind of at the bottom of the video, and it looks more of like a cinnamon base, and you see some of that magenta reflect as well. This one is really pretty on the eyes. The next one is Pony. Pony is a really bright, vibrant, warm-toned, peachy magenta type color. In direct light, it has a magenta most prominently with some lavender blue accents. In indirect light, you can definitely see more of that rosy redwood type base. And it does have some blue shift. I'm sorry, this lighting gets really dark really fast, but it's so... This is Orion. Orion is definitely that blue-green peacocky shade that everybody's going to go for. In direct light, it is bright blue and it has some mint and lavender accents. In indirect light, you can definitely see more of that reddish base with some amber type tones. But again, the blue-green in this is so pretty. If you were thinking about just one from this part of the collection, I would definitely recommend this one. This is Peacock. Peacock is definitely a mix of like a hunter green as well as a bright purple. In direct light, this particular shade has more of a Kelly green and some flecks of magenta. In indirect light, you see more of a grungy mustard type base, and then shifting to the magenta purple and then to the hunter green. So you can see a really strong shift in this one as well. If you're looking for that strong shift, this might be your one. And the last one is Yellowstone. This is the one I'm wearing today. This one is definitely more of a goldenrod mixed with a green color. When you look at the swatches, you can definitely see some goldenrod, some bright Kelly green, and some amber tones. In indirect lighting, you see this one more of a burgundy red base, and again, because this is one of the chameleon pigments, it has a very strong shift, so it's going to be really stunning to wear on the eyes. The other thing is, when I told Pastel Roses that I was really enjoying their products and that I intended to make some videos and posts and things like that, I did also ask them if they would be able to provide us a code to get a little bit of a discount, because you know my girl does not like to pay full price. If you're interested in picking up any of these pigments, I am going to leave the code right here, and then I will also leave the code down in the description box so that you can use that. Again, it is not affiliated, so I do not make any money with that code. It is just there for you to save some coin. Now, the last thing to say about these pigments is that the reflective quality and the beauty of these pigments cannot truly be captured in video the way that you see it in real life. It's just one of those things, and I have spent hours and hours trying to capture it in a way that truly reflects how beautiful these pigments are, and I just can't. So you definitely, I would recommend at least picking up one shade if you're interested at all in these pigments. Certainly this is not the only company that sells these pigments, and you're able to go look other places as well, but it's one of the places that I've found that is the most economical in terms of cost and how much product you get. So I'm happy to continue purchasing them. There's a handful that I don't already own, and so I'm sure I'll get those into my collection at some point in the future, because these pigments are worth it, and every time I wear one I get so many compliments. Like when I'm at work, this kind of eye look just blows people away. So I would say if you're interested in it at all, definitely pick up at least one and give it a try. So that completes this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed checking out the swatches that I had done for you. They took a lot of work. Leave me a comment down below as to what shades you're most interested in, and if you've ever tried any pigments like this before. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you have not already, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.